The dust has settled somewhat. Maybe not for Leanne Sanderson, but it has for a number of Manchester United fans and for the Spurs fans as well, who couldn't quite believe it. But yes, you've done it. First trophy in 17 years. You got your parade that was been going on a little bit earlier on. Great scenes in London, of course, for all the players and fans that have congregated there. Manchester United, conversely, have today, it's reported, told up to 200 staff that they're being made redundant in a further cost-cutting move. I don't know how many staff they've got left at this stage. The question is, what really does the future hold for both sides? I'm going to firstly define what the future is. How many years ahead would you like to discuss? Next season, next 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, I'd say half a decade is a great vision to look into.
Okay. So what do you think the next 5 years would hold? Let's start with Manchester United.
Well, for Manchester United, I've had an epiphany moment. I've always believed in Manchester United. I've always believed in the institution. And I think everybody has their line in the sand, don't they? Some people realise that Manchester United weren't the force that they once were when Sir Alex Ferguson left. Other people, it took a little while. Other people, maybe they had that moment, that light bulb moment when Rangnick spoke about open heart surgery. For me, it still took ages. I'm the last person to arrive at this party. But I now realise that the Manchester United that I know are completely spent. They were appalling in that final. And the Manchester United that I know do not lose to Tottenham in a European final. I was shocked. I was shocked at how badly they played. And I think because I wanted them to win, it's a very rare occasion I watch Manchester United want them to win a game of football. Yeah. But when you watch them through the lens of wanting them to win, you suddenly realise how infuriatingly poor they are. And over the next half a decade, let's start at the top and work backwards, right? Do you think they win a league in the next 5 years?
I think they could in 5 years.
I think they are as far away from winning a league title as they have ever been in my entire life.
Well, no, that's true.
Which means
I agree with that. But
I don't see how within 5 years, this crop of players, the evolution of where they are today, I just don't see how it's possible for them to win a league in 5 years.
I know, for example, that Arsenal haven't won a league title, so they're a bad example to use, but they've been second 3 years in a row. And I don't think 5 years ago we would have thought that they would have been, in a top two in the Premier League.
But I think that
things can change quite quickly.
Arsenal were never 16th in the league either.
No, that's true.
And I feel like this is a new low for Manchester United.
It's the lowest.
It's the lowest. Yeah. Because when you look across the pitch, do you know the word? If you think of one word that kind of represents Manchester United, I'm talking about the spirit of the club. This goes back decades, generations. This is back to the Munich air disaster and beyond. Resilience. They're a club that fight. They're a club that find a way. They're a club that have a never say die attitude, and it's a brilliant spirit. It's a wonderful British institution. Did you see that performance?
Yeah.
There was nothing resilient about it. And then you look at individuals. What individual there? Like, you think about icons over the years. It doesn't matter whether it's Roy Keane, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Eric Cantona, or Wayne Rooney. How many of these players are just inept? This manager, does he represent the club well?
But this is why I think 5 years, you're right, is a good time frame to use. What we see now and that's probably why losing the final, actually, the only positive you can take from it is it didn't paper over probably the biggest cracks we've ever seen with Manchester United. This is the poorest side anyone who's around our age group has ever seen, really, in a Manchester United shirt. Now they're at the point that it has to be complete change. It has to be complete overhaul. There's no tweaking this. They're that bad. Do you know what I mean? There's no, well, if we get 3 or 4 out and we bring 3 or 4 good ones.
It's a revolution, isn't it? You need a revolution.
And that's why I say maybe in 5 years, you've got a totally different Manchester United. Because now is the point, and I hate to say things like this because I feel like players, you sign a contract, a club should honour it. But you know those stories where, I came in and none of my stuff was in the changing room and they told me I could train with the under-18s. That should happen to a lot of the Man United squad. Yeah. People are like, you can't offload them. It's to the point where if you can't negotiate with a player, if I can't sit down at a table and players say, okay, I'll take less, or just so I can facilitate a move because I'm not going to be playing regularly, I'll negotiate a fee that you can pay me just to let me release me from my contract. Man United are unable to do that because of the size of the wages that they've been paying. They now, unfortunately, have to do it by brute force, which is things like, well, you're not going to play, you're not going to be included in the Premier League squad. Yep. You're not going to be training with the first team, and things like, if you want to come in, you can come in. If not, then it's fine. Suddenly, players go to their agents, get me out of here. I know they owe me 10 million quid. I know they owe me 5 million quid, but my life's going to be hell. And I hate to kind of advocate that kind of thing. But in terms of this industry, and it is a cruel and horrible industry at times, we know clubs have done that to make sure they can change their squad drastically.
But they should as well. Like,
I hate to say that they should do that to people.
But it's not
I don't like saying that.
No, I mean, it's an industry. It's an industry that can often be brutal, and I don't think anybody should apologise for that. Manchester United have made a pig's ear of their contract negotiations over the years, over the decades, which is why they're in this situation. And they now need to do anything they can to move on and make sure that the furtherance of their club is at the genesis of every decision that they make. Like, how many players at this club are just not good enough to wear the shirt? Genuinely. You know, if you look through the squad, and I saw quite a flippant headline that I believe to be true, every single Manchester United player is apparently up for sale. Correct.
But they were in November.
But crucially here, so they should be. Yeah. When you think of the spirit of that club, when you think about what the badge on your chest represents when you play for Manchester United, I feel like we've all been gaslit to believe that some of the players within this squad are good enough. Like, sometimes on the show, sometimes we hear, like, if Bruno Fernandes, he's quite a good example to use, because I think people believe him to be the best in the squad, capable of playing for anyone. Like, I've heard people say, Sir Alex Ferguson would love Bruno Fernandes. You're like, are you mad? He wouldn't get in that club. You know when Paul Scholes and Roy Keane were in the dressing room, Ruud van Nistelrooy in the dressing room, a generation before, Cantona, Steve Bruce, he doesn't get a look in. The standard of Manchester United is so far beyond a Bruno Fernandes, and yet we're made to believe that somehow he is the world-class player that United need.
Since you've mentioned him, reports today, talkSPORT understands Al Hilal willing to pay Manchester United £100 million for their captain Bruno Fernandes. They've set the Portuguese international, though, a deadline of next week to decide if he wants the move. He wants the move. Manchester United's board need to be onto him very quickly. Anyway, the Saudi Pro League side keen to make a statement signing before taking part in next month's Club World Cup. Fernandes has been offered a deal reportedly worth £65 million per year.
None of this makes sense, though, because he's not worth £65 million and he's not worth £100 million. Like, nothing makes sense.
Irrelevant. Would you sell him? Leanne Sanderson told us she wouldn't for any price. I know what I would. My answer is absolute yes.
I have nothing but love and respect for Leanne Sanderson, but she's completely wrong here.
You take the money?
I take half the money that you suggested, and he should go for half the wages that you suggested. Like, what were we doing? Why do people love to pretend that Bruno Fernandes is somehow this like
because
marquee...
he is Manchester United's best player.
Yes, he is Manchester United's best player.
And without him, they may well have got relegated.
Nicholas Jackson is Chelsea's best centre forward, but it doesn't mean he's good enough to play for Chelsea.
That's a totally different...
No, what the point
You're
is...
You're talking about the icing on the cake. We're talking about there's no cake.
No, sorry. The point I'm making...
There's nothing there.
The point I'm trying to make is simply being the best at that club doesn't mean you're good enough to play for the club. It means you're the best of a bad bunch. Nicholas Jackson is Chelsea's best centre-forward, but he's not good enough to play for Chelsea. He's not good enough to lead the line for Chelsea. We need a new centre-forward. For
me, I think, listen, if it allows you to bring in, I don't know, a Liam Delap, even 30 million of the 100 million you get, but you then have another 70 million that allows you to keep one of Mainu or Garnacho, someone that's come out of the academy who could be the future of the football club for the next 10 years. I think you have to take it. Losing players only affects a football club if they make bad replacements, bring in bad replacements. Manchester United have sold, got rid of Cantona, got rid of Van Nistelrooy, got rid of Yapstam. You know, they've sold incredible players. Cristiano Ronaldo went off to Real Madrid.
But replace them.
But they replaced them.
And it's also about the timing, isn't it? It's about doing it at the right time. Like, look, I felt like...
I think now is the right time, by the way.
As long as you replace him.
Yeah.
As long as
but there's no European football. Listen, you can't carry someone on 350 grand a week. You're not even playing European football. Someone offers you 100 million quid for him. Hello, wake up, smell the coffee. You can't carry a player like that in this situation.
Do you think there's anything
Now's
in
the
it for him?
time.
Do you think for this move for him?
Sorry, let me just read that again. He's been offered a deal worth £65 million a year. Is there anything in it for him? Probably.
But you know when you're already an incredibly wealthy man?
No.
Do you think it matters?
You can't turn down that kind of money. Sorry, I'll say again. £65 million a year. A year.
Yeah, none of that makes sense to me. But even...
but if that's true...
Yeah. 65 million quid a year.
If that's true, come on.
Well, would you do that?
I mean, I just spent 20 quid on the Euro Millions tonight. Was it 150 million?
Is it?
You've missed the deadline. But do you know what I mean? You got to be in it to win it. And Bruno Fernandes, he's basically winning the lottery here, mate.
That's what it is. It's generational wealth, isn't it? But overall, I think Manchester United should cash in. But not only on him. I think what they need is a revolution. Like, I really do. I think that the performance that was put in by that team, by that manager in Bilbao, everybody should hang their head in shame.
The reason I think in 5 years they could win a title is now is the time to strip back, start again. This is overhaul time. This is young players, 30, 40 million pound signings, a totally new team, a totally new approach, and then maybe you could kind of forget about the past and possibly have a bright future.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.